right, welcome back everyone to Teaching Urban. Today I have here Victor Ramirez, Cortland alum. So we're here at Alumni Weekend in Cortland, and I have the pleasure of interviewing him. So thank you for coming, and I know it's short notice, but I really appreciate. I heard some of your stories from Monica, and I was like, yeah, I gotta interview you. So tell us what you do in education.
Okay, well, I'm a physical education teacher over in East Harlem. I work in a school that is a part of a community of different other schools that make up one sports program. So I work with a lot of neighboring schools to develop teams so that they can participate in PSAL. So not only do I teach phys ed, but I'm also an athletic director for
okay.
schools.
So you travel from school to school, or you're just at one school?
I'm just at one school, but I have to work with the neighboring schools.
Right.
Team.
Okay. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for 4 years now. This is the third school that I work at. I initiated my teaching career at a all-boys school in the Bronx, Eagle Academy for Young Men.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah, that's where I started my teaching career as a phys ed teacher. From there I went to George Washington High School, where I spent 2 years, and I transitioned to where I am now, at the Heritage School in East Harlem.
So what got you into education?
When I first graduated from Cortland, I graduated with a degree in kinesiology.
Oh.
I wasn't an educator as soon as I got out of college. It was a transition through life that kind of led me to become a phys ed teacher. A lot of my friends were phys ed teachers, and they pointed me in that direction. It was something I was passionate about. I was passionate about movement, and I kind of felt like I needed to reach kids earlier. I was getting clients that by the age of 30, 35, they were so bad out of shape. I kind of felt like it was important for me to try to see if I could get people to fall in love with fitness earlier in life. And I felt that physical education was that direction.
So in your teaching experiences, has it been elementary, middle school, high school, what?
I've had a combination of pretty much all of it.
Okay.
I've spent some time in elementary school, but majority of my time has been in high school. I teach mostly high school kids, a little bit of middle school. I've kind of felt like I've had the biggest impact in high school.
I love high school.
Yeah, high school is awesome.
Oh yeah. So like, what highlights have you had, or what breakthroughs have you had that you think has like, what have you done? Like you said, you wanted to reach the community. As an educator, what do you think was one of your highest moments that was like, this is why I'm here, this is my purpose?
I would have to say just the subtle moments, right? Subtle moments of enlightenment from your students. You might find a student that's struggling in a certain part of life, right? Might not be doing very well in school, or might not have or think that he has what it takes in order to make it to the next level. Reaching out and giving them that opportunity to have the conversation of why they can, or why they feel they can't do something, and then changing their perspective. I think that's ultimately what drives me in teaching. I take it from a point of giving people what I didn't have, right? I didn't have the opportunity.
So I know you've been very, very active here at Cortland. So are you like pushing that out there? Like, are you doing more than teaching, or are you just?
Yeah, I think in a certain sense, you're not just a teacher. When you start the profession, you start off as a teacher, and then you realize that it's a lot more involved. You become more of a mentor. You become more of a father figure, even. You start to realize how much more of an impact you have on the kids that you teach. Some more than others, right? And some you wish you had more of an impact on, and they don't seem to catch it. And I guess that's what keeps me driving. That keeps me going. To see how much more.
I just seen that today with what's her name?
Nia.
Yeah, she was just so happy to see you and so excited. So Nia attends Cortland now. We are here, and some of the EOP Summer Institute is running now. They're here for a month. And she was happy, she was excited, she had all great things to say, and I feel like, yes, as teachers, we are mentors, and that is a really big part of what we do as teachers.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone mentor you as a teacher, or?
I had influences. I had influences in high school that kind of pushed me in a direction. I didn't know I would become a teacher. Didn't think that would be my path. But the more and more that I realized how much of a positive influence those people had in my life, the more I realized that maybe I can give back to that. So maybe I can do the same thing that others could do for me.
So, how many years have you been teaching?
7 years. I've been teaching a total of 7 years now.
And what has allowed you to stay for this long? Like, have you ever felt like leaving, or did you leave and come back? Or?
Of course. I haven't left. I've had moments of frustration where I feel like I've hit a glass ceiling. The movement, the potential for upward movement isn't there as much unless you want to go administrative. And also, I feel like there's so much disconnect between the system and what the ideal way of education and the systematic approach to education and what really needs to happen. So I find myself frustrated with the system and not necessarily with the profession. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I'll have positive moments with my students, and that will always keep me going, just because that's really what you're there for. You're there for the children. You're there for the influence that you can possibly have in their lives.
Right. So what are like some things that you would give to a beginner teacher, or one that doesn't have as much experience? Like, what have you learned that you're like, not even here, like we're here talking to EOP students today, right? We're telling them like, this is what happened, this was our experience, this is what you should do, this is what you should focus on. So what advice would you give to teachers as to what they should do to make sure that they're not overwhelmed or discouraged or feel like they have to leave the profession?
Yeah, I think the first piece of advice that I would give them is it's never the ideal situation. It's never what they teach you. It's I guess it's weird to say it that way, but it's just the reality of the situation. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Nothing is ever going to be ideal, and it's all about how you adapt to the situations. How do you bring personality to a situation where you can't, like you have to be real about it. So I think being creative is a huge part of it. I think as a teacher, you kind of starting out, you feel like things should be given to you. You should have all your resources. You should be in a situation to succeed. And the majority of the time, you're in a situation where you have to make it happen. You have to find your resources. You have to be proactive about your teaching, because no one will help you with it unless,
So I know you teach large classes. Like, how do you manage all of those students in one room? Especially you were saying like you teach in a cafeteria, right?
Yeah,
you don't have an actual
I don't have
gymnasium.
I don't have a gymnasium. I teach in a very confined space of it's not even a cafeteria. It's a multi-purpose room.
Oh.
And it's a unique space because it also has beams. I have beams that come out of the floor, and I have lights that hang underneath. So it's a situation where you do have to be creative. But that's also where the fun is. I think the fun is in how I can modify my spaces, how I can modify the game, how I can change whatever environment I'm in order to suit my goals. So I kind of just make it happen. No excuses.
Right, no excuses at all. Okay.
I think it's also important to take that time, right, to kind of like for yourself.
So I'm all about self-care. So tell me how, as a man, how do you do that? Because I know women, we have our own responsibilities, but as a man, like, what do you do for self-care?
It has to be, and this is something that kind of like, it trickles into my classroom, right? So meditation, right? Meditation is a huge part of like what I would try to focus on, just because creativity, that's a stem of creativity. So meditation and being active, right? So I come from a demographic of just bad eating habits, right? It's inevitable to kind of avoid the cultural food that kind of plays a huge part into our obesity rates and high blood pressure. And then teaching our children to be more active and more conscious. I think that that's also a part of what keeps me sane, right? And also taking those vacations. You got to take your vacations. You got to take advantage of the time that you have for yourself. Right? We all know that as a teacher, it can be a little.
So going back to the eating healthy, right? Because where do you live now? In the Heights?
I live in the Bronx now.
Oh,
Bronx.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you live in the
Migrated
Bronx,
to the
and like
Bronx.
I live in the Bronx, and I know there aren't that many like healthy eating options. So do you cook? Do you prep? Like, what do you do for that?
Well, I do a combination of things.
Okay.
I still go home and get mom's cooking.
Ah.
I still go back home and get mom's cooking. And I do prep my own meals from time to time. I haven't been as focused, should I say, on my nutrition. I've been eating all sorts of bad. But that is the best approach. The best approach is to prepare your own meals, to prepare your own food. It's just, it takes time. So it is.
So what, besides teaching, are you doing outside of teaching?
Wow, man, I think life is kind of like taking me in different directions. I've been working on myself, just trying to, I have to stop saying trying, because we are all being, we're all in the state of being. So I feel like life is pushing me and pulling me in a certain direction, and I have to embrace those opportunities. So I'm currently working on a little project where I might be involved in the music industry a little bit. So to some extent, to a certain extent. I'm not fully there yet, but it's definitely where my path is kind of taking.
Okay. As teachers, I know we all have like our side hustles,
yeah.
Like, things that but it's like being a teacher is our number one. That's something that we don't want to get away from. So that's awesome that you're finding other areas.
For sure. And I think that's part of also finding sanity, right? Keeping yourself sane is also to find yourself involved in things that you truly are passionate about. And for me, it just happens to be music. It happens to be something that I've always been passionate about.
All right. Well, thank you, Victor, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
All righty.
Yeah.
All right. See you soon.